So to do the drywall, you'll basically do like you did with the plywood and cut a square that's half the width. I hung the drywall up first so that I could use the framing to guide my saw and get the nice curve on my drywall cut as well. And then obviously just flip the square over, use it on the other side, and repeat that for all 4 corners. Basically, you want it to look like this once you're finished. For the drywall on the curved surface, what I did that worked really good for me is I marked everywhere that I wanted a screw, gave myself a 3/4 inch pillow on either side of where I wanted that screw, and then cut all the pieces between the places where I wanted screws into 3/4 inch strips, and then just broke those so that it would bend. You'll see here kind of what it looked like right before I hung it up, and I made a pretty smooth curvature for me and worked really well. Another method for that is to use 1/4 inch drywall and soak it in water, and then it will allow it to bend. You'll have to use 2 layers of 1/4 inch drywall to equal the 1/2 inch. I didn't do that simply because I was buying a full sheet of 1/2 inch anyway and not going to use it all, and I didn't want to have to buy a whole sheet of 1/4 inch plywood just for that small little bit. And this worked really good for me, so I'd suggest trying it. I won't go too in depth on the process of the mud because there's plenty of other videos out there, but basically I had to first just sand a little border so that my joint tape and mud could work and bond like it's supposed to. And then for the joint tape, you want to just stick a little bit of mud in the joint, stick the tape on top of the joint, and then use your putty knife to squeeze the joint tape into the mud and kind of push the excess mud out. So you'll do that on all your joints, and then install your corner bead along the corners through the arch. There's companies that make flexible corner bead. I would definitely suggest using those. The only reason I didn't is because my local home improvement stores didn't have any, and I didn't want to drive an hour and a half just to get a couple strips of that. But it definitely would make it easier, I think. And then as far as that goes, I would just follow the manufacturer's instructions, whether that be using spray adhesive to put it on or just staples. In my case, I just stapled it. But anyway, you want it to just look something like this, and then you can just start the finished mud process. Just take your time. There's plenty of other videos that can walk you through that. A couple thin layers, let it dry completely, sand it, do another layer. As many layers as you feel like you need to get the result that you're looking for till it looks nice and smooth. Right here, this is after 2 layers of mud. I took and sanded one more time and did a 3rd layer, and that smoothed it out a lot. I had a few spots after the 3rd layer that I filled in with the 4th layer, and I was happy with that. At this point, unfortunately, I got carried away and didn't get recordings of the process like I should have, but I used a can of Homax wall texture spray to match my texture of my wall, and then just painted over top. Quick tip on the texture spray: if you go that route, when you spray the texture on, I would suggest making it a little bit more aggressive than the texture on your wall, because the paint kind of smooths it out a little bit. It fills in the valleys of the texture some and smooths it out just a little bit, ever so slightly, but enough to where you'll want to go a little bit more aggressive with the texture. In the end, it was totally doable. First time doing it. It's a little bit intimidating at first, but if you just jump in, take one step at a time, you'll be able to do it too.